Want to welcome everyone here today. President Trump has an electoral mandate from the American people to deliver on his promises to secure the border and enforce the immigration laws of the United States. And he is delivering on this promise big time. The mayors here today each lead so-called sanctuary cities. And let's be clear, these policies only create sanctuary for criminals. Sanctuary policies violate federal immigration law by protecting criminal aliens at the expense of the American people. Sanctuary cities and states refuse to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement efforts and harbor illegal aliens. These reckless sanctuary policies also force federal immigration officers to go into local communities to apprehend criminal illegal aliens. If sanctuary cities were to simply communicate and work with federal immigration authorities, then federal agents could arrest criminal illegal aliens in a secure environment like a state or local jail. Instead, they have to risk their own safety and public safety by having to go into uncertain, dangerous circumstances just to make arrests. Sanctuary cities make us all less safe and are a public safety nightmare.
Agrees that violent criminals don't belong in our communities. We all want our cities to be safe. Today, Republicans have hauled before us the mayors of 4 major American cities to frame them as lawless because those cities have some limits on how intrusively and aggressively their own officials can conduct federal immigration operations and responsibilities. Let's be clear. The state and local laws that Republicans have issue with today are in full compliance with federal law. They do not obstruct ICE from carrying out its duties.
I'll speak to his case in my time, Mr. Chairman.
As mayor, I do not control who enters or remains in our country, but I do have to manage the population that is within our city. In order to carry out this function without having long-term negative ramification, I must create an atmosphere that allows every law-abiding resident, documented or not, to access vital services without fear of being turned over to federal authorities. I cannot have a city where parents are afraid to send their children to school or where children are sleeping on the streets, creating the potential for child exploitation and sex trafficking. If an undocumented person refuses to seek medical care until they have a medical emergency, our city's healthcare system will be strained. And if an undocumented individual witnesses a crime but is afraid to call 911 for fear of being turned over to federal authorities, criminals will roam free.
Hell to come to Denver. What people are looking for is opportunity. When those buses kept on coming, Denver made a choice as a city. Not to hate each other, but to help each other. Not to turn on each other, but to turn to each other. And see if together we could solve a problem that felt bigger than any one of us. And that's what we did. It wasn't perfect, and it required sacrifice from all of us. But in the end, Denver came out stronger and closer than we were before. Because Americans expect us to do more than point fingers. They expect us to solve problems. So if Denver can find a way to put aside our ideological differences long enough to manage a crisis we didn't choose or create, it seems only fair to ask that the body that is actually charged with solving this national problem, this Congress, can finally commit to do the same. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I recognize Boston Mayor Wu for her opening statement.
Thank you. I spoke with pastors whose pews are half empty on Sundays, doctors whose patients are missing appointments, teachers whose students aren't coming to class, neighbors afraid to report crimes in their communities, and victims of violence who won't call the police. This federal administration is making hardworking, tax-paying, God-fearing residents afraid to live their lives. A city that's scared is not a city that's safe. A land ruled by fear is not the land of the free. Next month.
Mr. Mayor, I want to be really clear. Were you pressured in exchange for the dropping and dismissal of criminal charges in your indictment to cooperate with the Trump administration on all fronts with respect to immigration? Did any such conversation take place?
I think I was extremely clear.
I cannot hear you, sir.
I think I was extremely clear. No quid pro quo, no agreement. I did nothing wrong but serve the people of New York City.
Thank my friend for yielding.
Chair now recognizes Mr. Cloud from Texas.